Greetings and a warm welcome to all of the new graduate students in the Linguistics program. My name is Juliette Blevins and I'm a professor in the Linguistics program at the Graduate Center and director of the Endangered Language Initiative. I came to the Graduate Center in 2010 after working as a research scientist at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany. At the Graduate Center, I teach Phonology 1, Phonology 2, Linguistic Typology, Historical Linguistics, Morphology, and more advanced seminars in these subdisciplines. In fall 2020, I will be teaching Phonology 2, the second course in our graduate phonology sequence. I have three major research areas: phonology, or sound patterns of the world's languages, endangered language research, and historical linguistics. In the area of phonology, my main research interests are sound patterns and sound change, with a special focus on phonological typology. In the area of endangered language research, I've worked with some of the last speakers of the Nunda language of Australia and Yurok, an Algic language of northwestern California. More recent work includes a co-authored paper in the most recent issue of Language on a unique sound pattern in Lakota, an endangered Siouan language. My historical work spans many languages and language families, with major contributions to Austronesian studies and more recently Basque studies in my 2018 book, Advances in Proto-Basque Reconstruction, with evidence for the Proto-Indo-European Euskadian hypothesis. Thank you so much for listening, and stay well.
Welcome to our program. I'm Jason Kandybowicz, a central faculty member here at the Graduate Center program in Linguistics. My research specialization lies in formal syntax and its interface with phonology. Broadly speaking, I'm interested in four areas. One is formal syntactic theory. Another is the interface between syntax and phonology. I'm also a field linguist, and I do language documentation as well. And then empirically, my work is focused on the languages of West Africa primarily. So I thought I'd give you a little tour of some of the languages that I've worked on here. The one language that I've worked on the longest is Nupe, which is a Benue Congo language spoken in the Middle Belt region of Nigeria. It's spoken by about 1 million speakers, and I've been working on this language for about 25 years. Most of the results that I've had can be read about in this book, The Grammar of Repetition, which talks about all kinds of repetition phenomena like verb doubling and predicate clefting and pronominal resumption. Another language I've worked on is Asante Twi. This is a language of one of the major languages of Ghana, spoken by about 4 million speakers. And then related to Asante Twi are languages Wassa and Bono, also spoken in the vicinity where Asante Twi is spoken. You can read a lot about the results of my work on Asante Twi and Wassa and Bono in my 2020 book, Anti-Contiguity. I've also worked on endangered languages. So this language, Karachi, is spoken by less than 9,000 speakers. I've been working on this language for about 14 years. This is a language that's spoken in the Volta, Lake Volta region. And you can read about a lot of the results from that project in a volume that I did with Harold Torrance called Africa's Endangered Languages. I've also been working on a language more recently based on field methods class that I taught here at the Graduate Center a few years ago called Shupamum, which is a grassfields Bantu language of Cameroon. I have a paper under review with students from the Field Methods 1 class on Shupamum a few years ago. And the point of this paper is to show that contrary to what you kind of learn about in your intro syntax classes, that certain domains are strong islands and they block all movement out of them, the Shupamum language seems to show that there are no actual strong islands, and that every domain that you would expect to block movement actually permits movement. And we have various sophisticated ways of diagnosing that movement has actually taken place, things like crossover effects, reconstruction phenomena, quantifier floating, negative concord item licensing, and so on and so forth. So that's a really exciting result. A paper that just came out this spring is called Salvation by Deletion in Nupe. And this is a project in collaboration with Jesuel Menges from University of Pennsylvania. And the paper is basically asking the question, essentially, whether deletion phenomena like ellipsis can overwrite, say, grammatical violations. There's a debate in the field about whether ellipsis can do that, whether salvation by deletion is actually possible. And this paper answers that question in the affirmative by looking at comp trace effects and perfect extraction, which sort of teaches us a lot about how ellipsis works and what grammatical movement violations might be in the end. And then the most recent language I've ventured into is called Ekwa Adara. This is the native language of one of our graduate students, Emmanuel Bawa. And we looked at this language in field methods last fall, and we're continuing to look at this language in field methods too. This is a language spoken in central Nigeria by about 400,000 speakers. An outcome of the field methods class from last fall is a paper that was just presented at the annual conference on African linguistics on question formation in the Ekwa Adara language. It looks like Ekwa Adara allows for multiple WH fronting of the sort previously known to exist in lots of Eastern European languages. It was not known before this work that there were any African languages that showed multiple WH fronting. So there were a lot of other interesting discoveries, but that's one of the most salient ones. If you're interested in learning more, if you want to get a hold of these slides to read more about the details of things, feel free to email me or check out my website.
So if you have any interests in syntax, the syntax phonology interface, fieldwork, language documentation, or African languages in general, feel free to reach out. Of course, I'm happy to discuss any other interests you might have or answer any questions you have about our program or about syntax at the GC in general.
Hi, my name is Kyle Gorman, and I'm the director of the Master's Program in Computational Linguistics here at the Graduate Center. And of course, I also teach in the PhD program. I teach many of the core classes in our computational linguistics curriculum. In the past, I've taught methods in computational linguistics 1 and 2, and also statistics, and I'm one of the few faculty members who would be happy to consult with you on statistical matters. My research interests are mostly oriented around phonology and morphology. On the computational side of the equation, I've worked on a lot of problems that have to do with speech synthesis and speech recognition, including grapheme to phoneme conversion, morphological analysis, and text normalization. On the linguistic side, I've worked on the problems of productivity, the theory of inflectional gaps, and phonotactic theory. One thing that ties a lot of these interests together is the use of a technology known as finite state automata, which I'm developing a book on right now.
So I would say I'm interested in speech and language technologies, and particularly the side of that component that involves like basically developing high quality digital linguistic resources, particularly for under-resourced languages and things of that nature. I'm also interested in theoretical questions in phonological and morphological theory, and sometimes I use some of the former to answer questions in the latter. So one big project that we've been doing here, as is my discipline, I have to like sort of create projects that I think would be useful and have legs that can run for a long time. There's a lot of options to go in different directions. One of them is our work on grapheme to phoneme conversion. So nearly all speech technologies require mapping between words as they're written, which we call sort of like graphemic form, and as they are pronounced, phonemic form. No dictionary will be able to cover all possible word forms. So we need computational methods to predict the pronunciations of unseen words. Now, the best systems still make errors about 10 to 20% of the time on a particularly hard language like English. On easier languages, they also make errors. There's very few languages in which they are perfect. So we developed years ago a tool called Wikipron. This is a free pronunciation dictionary and software to make the pronunciation dictionary. And now we have 251 languages are covered by this resource, 39 scripts, and about 2.7 million different pronunciations from different languages. That was fun. And we also used this to run a shared task, which is to say basically online competition in trying to predict the pronunciation. So build your best grapheme to phoneme conversion software, try to predict stuff. We ran this at SIGMorphon, which is a special interest group for people who study computational morphology and phonology. We did this in 2020 and 2021. We're currently studying this problem with a small local internal grant on what I'm calling multi-source G to P, or G and P to P. In this setting, we're going to predict pronunciations based not just on the graphemes, how the word is spelled, but also using resources from other dictionaries that may have different dialects, different transcription guidelines. Ongoing, we're doing data collection, and we're also doing model. Next step, we'll do model building and evaluation. And I've got a bunch of different students are involved in this project. Some of them funded, some of them as volunteers, and there's always more space in this particular project for students to get involved. Another big project we have funded by the NSF is a project on word likeness knowledge. So this is word likeness refers to sort of the phonotactic knowledge about sound patterns in words in your language. So for the famous example comes from something like blick. So perhaps you're not familiar with the word blick. It's a rare proper name in English, but otherwise you probably haven't encountered it. It seems like it could be a possible word of English, whereas something like nick feels quite impossible. Probably no one ever taught you that fact as well, right? This is something that we sort of learn without any direct teaching. We're trying to understand the nature of this type of knowledge, and we're using an experimental procedure. We feel that there's been quite a few experiments on this task. They haven't been well carefully designed. We're doing stimulus design right now. We're running experiments very soon in Seoul with my collaborator at University of Mississippi, and also we'll be running experiments in the States. My lab will be responsible for sort of maintaining the data, doing more stimulus design, analysis, and ultimately some computational modeling. I am going to be hiring people soon for this as well. Okay, so just a couple other quick things here. I have a couple other links here. I'm interested in sort of questions of productivity, defectivity, and so on and so forth. I have some papers here. I have some historical work about language in individuals with autism, aphasia, things like that. Nothing active right now. I worked a lot on this problem called text normalization in the speech technology space. And finally, I'm interested in these so-called finite state technologies used to solve the text normalization problem. Some students have worked on these things over the years. I think I should stop here. And one last thing here, we have a lab. And meeting times keep moving. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Irina Sekerina, or Sekerina in Russian. I grew up in Moscow, and I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in linguistics from Moscow State University and a PhD in linguistics from this very program, the PhD program in linguistics at the CUNY Graduate Center. My advisor was and is Janet Dean Fodor, and I specialized in psycholinguistics and behavioral research. My current position is a professor of psychology at the College of Staten Island. I'm also affiliated with the Graduate Center in the two programs, PhD program in linguistics and PhD program in psychology, cognitive and comparative psychology track. I have many international collaborations. My main one is Center for Language and Brain at the High School of Economics in Moscow, Russia. I also have a very active program of collaboration at the Arctic University of Norway, Tromsø, and I work with colleagues at Leibniz Center in Berlin, Germany. My main methodology is the visual world paradigm and also eye tracking in reading. So these are some of the images from the kinds of research projects I conducted over past 20 years, including eye tracking of children, eye tracking with adults, both bilingual and monolingual, in English and in Russian. My research themes can be summarized in the following way. I do a lot of cross-linguistic sentence processing, in particular in English and Russian, but also in Norwegian, German, Bulgarian, and actually Hebrew. I also am very interested in comparing monolingual language processing with bilingual heritage processing. That is, these are the bilinguals who came to this country when they were children, and they continue to speak their heritage language at home, but switched to the dominant societal language at the beginning of school. And I also have a very active interest in cross-populational research. That is, I work with children, lifespan approach, and I occasionally do some work with older adults. And I'm also interested in doing work with people with aphasia. There are a few of current projects that I've listed here for you. So I am actively involved in several projects that have to do with reading and acquisition of reading using eye tracking, that is, eye movements in reading. I continue to use the visual world paradigm very actively when I study processing of morphology and syntax, in particular case, grammatical gender, clitics in Bulgarian, scrambling in Russian, and cross-linguistic projects that involve these languages. I'm also continuing my work in the effects of memory and sentence processing, in particular retrieval interference, or a particular way of how we process unbounded syntactic dependencies. And I've been involved and continue to be involved in research that has to do with bilingual assessment, mostly children, but also adults. There is an easy way to find more about me. You can check out my ResearchGate site for publications, or you can email me. I'll be very glad to hear from you guys.
My name is Sandeep Prasada. I'm a cognitive scientist. I am interested in lexical and conceptual representation and acquisition. I'm currently working on a theory of the formal structure of common sense concepts, especially lexically expressible concepts. I teach a course on lexical development for the linguistics program every other year, including this fall. And I also teach courses at Hunter College on cognitive processes and cognitive development.
Hello and welcome to the Graduate Center. I'm Alberta Gatti. I'm the director of the Institute for Language Education in Transcultural Context, ILTEC for short, one of the many institute centers you will find at the Graduate Center. ILTEC is a research and resource center for language education at CUNY. We conduct projects with many languages, focusing on instructed second language acquisition. My area of research right now is focused on the proficiency and literacy development of heritage speakers. In the fall, I will be teaching two courses. One is an undergraduate course for Spanish heritage speakers, which is actually part of a research project on proficiency development. The other one is an independent studies with a PhD candidate, in which we will explore genre-based approaches to instructed second language acquisition. I hope you have a very productive first semester and that we get to meet soon.
My name is Cecelia Cutler, and I'm on the faculty of the Linguistics Department and also the Department of Latin American, Iberian, and Latino Cultures, and the School of Education at Lehman College. I'm a sociolinguist. I'm interested in language and identity, also language and digital spaces, New York City English, and most recently language activism. I'm a co-PI on the NSF-funded Corpus of New York City English Project with my CUNY colleagues Christina Tortora, Bill Haddican, and Michael Newman, and we are welcoming students who are interested in using the corpus for linguistic analysis. I've supervised 6 PhD dissertations on various topics, ranging from the naming preferences of Chinese international students to identity practices among African Americans who've acquired near-native fluency in Spanish. The courses I've offered at the Graduate Center include sociolinguistics, discourse analysis, language and identity, and the sociolinguistics of computer-mediated communication. I look forward to meeting you.
So I'll share a little bit about my background and some of my work. So I was trained at NYU by John Singler, Renee Blake, Greg Guy, Beverly Shefflin. all of whom are either sociolinguists or linguistic anthropologists. They have various interests. My research interests started out really having to do with language and identity. I was very, very interested in African American English. Some data and access to some young people kind of fell into my lap as a result of being a school teacher and also knowing a family, a wealthy family that lived on the Upper East Side in a Gorman building, and their son, the son who lived in that building, went to a private school and was one of the prototypical kind of white kids who was really into hip hop. And so I thought, well, this is an opportunity to explore some really interesting language practices of young people who are using language varieties that you wouldn't normally expect them to use, and how hip hop was involved in that. And I also did a little bit of work on applied linguistics, teachers' attitudes towards African American English, and also languaging in the classroom, translingual beliefs, teachers' attitudes towards and use of languages other than the dominant language, English, in the classroom. Most recently, I've gotten interested in digital media and computer-mediated communication, and I've been working on various topics. One of them was, why is it that animated characters are given accents, different kinds of accents? And so why is it that, say, Vikings get Scottish accents, and what do these accents mean? And if we look in spaces where there are YouTube videos about these kinds of things, people make all kinds of comments and perform dialects orthographically. And so I was very interested in what people thought about Scottish accents. I mean, in the case of Tintin, Captain Haddock strangely has a Scottish accent. He's supposed to be an English sea captain. So, it's just, you realize that the accents are doing a lot of work in terms of the construction of different kinds of characters. Since then, I've edited a couple of books. The one on the left on multilingual language practices in CMC, and most recently, a co-edited volume with a couple of students who graduated from this program in recent years, Subeka Wafa Bahari and May Ahmad. And they have chapters in the book as well. One, Wafa's is about Tunisi, it's Tunisian Arabic. May Ahmad wrote about Lebanese Twitter and the ways in which different groups of people, politicians, celebrities, and activists actually use modern standard Arabic versus Lebanese Arabic, and how they write using Arabizi, that is Latin script, when they write Arabic. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Corpus of New York City English. This was spearheaded by Christina Haggedorn, who has a similar project on Appalachian English. This particular project was a collaborative NSF grant led by Christina, and with co-PIs Michael Newman, Beatrice Centorini, Bill Haddican, and myself. And that funding has been expended, but the project is still ongoing. It is a 1 million+ word corpus of spoken English of people who grew up in New York City. And Bill Haddican is actually publishing quite actively on a couple of speech patterns and changes that are ongoing in the dialect. And my last book that's coming out pretty soon, it's actually an edited volume, is on language activism, and that is very much about theoretical perspectives. These are reflective pieces. It's really researchers who are working in this area and who were part of a conference that took place in Dubrovnik in 2019, and are all reflecting quite informally about their experiences collecting data, working with communities, engaging in various forms of activism, which go beyond language in many cases, and oftentimes involve a lot of advocacy in terms of government, and working towards for the needs of particular groups of people who are often living in very precarious situations, not just working on language by itself. And of course, a bunch of pieces on activism in public space. So that's what I have, and that is.
I'm Martin Chodorow, a professor in the linguistics program at the Graduate Center and in the psychology department at Hunter College. I teach statistics for linguistics research, a course which is not being offered this fall, but will be offered in an upcoming semester. My primary areas of research interest are in computational linguistics. Some of my work focuses on automatic evaluation of writing in particular the detection of grammatical errors in non-native English texts. The research uses both traditional machine learning and deep learning techniques. Recently, I've become involved in corpus-based studies of language acquisition in collaboration with Professor Virginia Valian and graduate students in both the linguistics and the psychology programs. Our research examines factors that affect the length of children's early utterances and the probability that those utterances will contain a subject. If you have any questions about my research or questions about the statistics course, I invite you to contact me. My email address is on the Linguistics website. I look forward to meeting you, and once again, welcome to the program.
My name is Bill Haddican. Welcome to the graduate program. We're really happy that you're able to join us. I work mainly on syntax and language change. Most of the courses that I teach are undergraduate courses at Queens College, but I also occasionally teach courses at the Graduate Center, and I work with graduate students there. If you ever have an idea that you want to talk about with me, please do let me know, and I look forward to meeting you soon.
I'm Christina Haggedorn. I'm a faculty member here in the Linguistics program at the CUNY Graduate Center, with my primary appointment being at the College of Staten Island. I'm a phonetician, and my research focuses primarily on investigating speech production in both typical individuals and in individuals with speech impairment. To do so, I use a variety of imaging modalities, including real-time MRI and electromagnetic articulography, which is what we use in my lab at CSI. My ongoing work using real-time MRI focuses on the compensatory mechanisms that are exhibited by individuals who have undergone a glossectomy procedure, whereby all or part of the tongue has been removed due to tongue cancer. So by looking at these compensatory speech movements, we're able to glean insight into the unimpaired or typical motor speech system, specifically with respect to the parameters of articulatory gestures that must be specified within such a system. My work using electromagnetic articulography, on the other hand, aims to shed light on how patterns in the kinematics and coordination of speech movements change over the course of speech development in the case of children, and also over the trajectory of various neurodegenerative diseases, such as Parkinson's disease. I'm very much looking forward to meeting you all sometime soon, and urge you to reach out if you have any questions at all regarding our program, or if you happen to have research interests that align with mine.
Hi, welcome to the Graduate Center. My name is José del Valle. I'm a professor both in the PhD program in linguistics and in the PhD program in Latin American, Iberian, and Latino cultures. I am a social linguist with a special interest in the sociology and the politics of language, that is in the interface between language and social change, the operations of the body politic, or the constitution of political subjectivities. My research has focused mostly on language standardization and the standardization of Spanish in particular between the end of the 19th century and the present. And I have focused on how language standardization and the different processes involved in it have been mobilized in a context defined by identity politics, nationalism, neocolonialism, and globalization. The courses that I teach are within the field of social linguistics and the sociology and the politics of language in particular. A couple of examples are an advanced seminar on language policy and planning, another one on the politics of language representation in late capitalism. I sometimes teach them in Spanish, sometimes teach them in English, and often I cross-list them with both programs, LALAC and linguistics. So welcome to the Graduate Center. I hope to meet some of you, hopefully all of you, over the next couple of years. And if at some point you feel that I can be helpful with anything, just reach out. The name is José del Valle, and my email is on the webpage.
Hi, my name is Miki Makihara. I'm a linguistic anthropologist who studies culture and communication. I'm especially interested in the ways in which language and communication contribute to and transformation of social inequality and community. I'm based at Queen's College and also belong to PhD programs in anthropology, linguistics, and Latin American, Iberian, and Latino cultures. My research combines ethnography and discourse analysis. I have been and continue to be engaged in a long-term research on Easter Island, a Polynesian Spanish bilingual community that belongs to Chile, South America. I have written about the sociolinguistic situation of Easter Island, multilingualism and indigenous identity formation, and the politics of language reclamation and revitalization. Currently, I'm writing a paper on poetic language, another on linguistic stances. I've also started a new project on migration, language, and democracy in Chile. I look forward to meeting you after the campus is open, but in the meantime, wanted to welcome you to the Graduate Center community.
Hi, welcome to the Graduate Center. I'm Nancy Stern. I'm also a graduate of this program. I graduated in 2001 from the Graduate Center. I'm interested in functionalist theories, cognitive linguistics, and construction grammar. I myself work in a radically functionalist theory called Columbia School. Columbia School has a semiotic conception of language as a meaningful symbolic system. Columbia School takes as data actual instances of language use in genuine communicative contexts. I hope to see you soon, virtually or in person, and welcome to the Graduate Center.
My name is Elena Filatova. I got my PhD in computer science from Columbia University. I'm interested in sentiment analysis and more specifically in sarcasm and irony detection, as well as hate speech detection. And also I work on a project which is dealing with analyzing the demographics on the crowdsourcing platforms such as Mechanical Turk. And then for 2020, I will be teaching Introduction to Methods in Computational Linguistics 1. See you all soon. Bye.
Hi, this is Doug Whalen. I'm a professor here in the Linguistics department, and I'd like to welcome you to our program. I'm also in the Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences program. I run the Speech Perception, Acoustics, and Production Laboratory, and I teach speech perception, speech production, and articulatory phonology. This fall is articulatory phonology. This is a theory of phonology devised by Louis Goldstein and Kathy Broman, and has a very embodied approach to phonology. The laboratory has lots of equipment for measuring speech in various ways. We have very good recording equipment. We also have ultrasound for looking at the tongue dynamics. We have electromagnetometry, also for measuring the tongue, and various other devices which are available to people who are doing research in that domain. So anyway, I'm glad you're joining us. Wish we could be there in person, but we'll sort it all out. And look forward to meeting some of you later on. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Matt Garley. I'm an assistant professor in the English department at York College and a member of the doctoral faculty in the linguistics program at the Graduate Center. I have previously co-taught Introduction to Sociolinguistics. This semester I am co-teaching Sociolinguistics of Computer-Mediated Communication, and that's very much aligned with the sort of research that I do. I have worked on English borrowings in German hip-hop, looking at large corpora collected from hip-hop forums online. I am currently working on language use in Latin hip-hop in the US, looking at varieties of English and Spanish, or as newer paradigms might have it, sort of code meshing issues. and things like that in Latin hip-hop culture in the US. I also have done some research on the subculture of cyberpunk. I'm doing some collaborative research on abbreviations in Twitter, so that sort of thing, where we're looking at questions of language change, the internet, and sociolinguistic concerns like language contact, identity, all of that sort of stuff. I'm also interested in attitudes and ideologies of language. All right, well, I'd like to welcome the new class and say that I look very much forward to meeting you and working with you.
Hello, my name is Spencer Caplan, and I'm a professor here at CUNY Graduate Center. I'm a psycholinguist and computational linguist, and I'm fundamentally interested in the interaction between computation, the mechanisms and algorithms involved in human processing and cognition, and our mental representation of language. Most of my work is in the areas of language processing and language acquisition, and I use a diverse range of tools and methods to do my research, including computational modeling, statistical modeling, quantitative analysis of corpus and language usage data, as well as psycholinguistic experiments with human subjects, everything from judgment and categorization tasks, measuring how people respond to speech input, as well as eye tracking studies. As perhaps you can tell from my interests, my background's both in linguistics, where I got my PhD, but also in computer science, where I spent a couple of years as a faculty member in a computer science department before coming to the grad center, and in psychology. And I did a postdoc in a psychology lab working pretty extensively on experimental methods. So at the Graduate Center, I hope to bring all of these fields together under one roof in hopefully a productive and compelling way. So at the GC, I direct the psycholinguistics lab, which I'm continuing to set up as I'm a new faculty member here. But in the future, it's going to be a place for students working on related topics to design, host, and run experiments involving anything from language processing and acquisition to theoretical linguistics involving judgment tasks or human experiments. Along with Professor Kyle Gorman, I also teach a number of classes in the computational linguistics curriculum and the computational linguistics master's program. So overall here, I teach computational linguistics methods 1 and 2. I'm also teaching a seminar on language acquisition this semester. And in the future, I'll be teaching courses in psycholinguistics and language processing. In the last several years, I've published papers across a range of topics, but I'll just highlight a few of them for now. In one avenue of work, I've done experimental work on the nature of speech processing and phonological representations. So trying to understand after sound enters your ear exactly what's represented in your mind. Ultimately, hopefully this will tell us something about phonological representations using this real-time processing as a bottleneck. I also have ongoing work in collaboration with colleagues at Stony Brook University, building computational models of vowel harmony acquisition in children, with the goal both of understanding how children learn such patterns, but also what this might tell us about the typological restrictions we see in harmony systems cross-linguistically. I've done work in computational modeling of the lexicon, trying to answer questions like, why does our language, or any language, have the set of words that it does, rather than some other possible set of words? And I've done quantitative corpus-based work to try to study questions in both theoretical linguistics and psycholinguistic processing. I've co-authored a paper looking at the systems underlying embedded verb second order in Swedish, and I have some ongoing work looking at the production of verb particle constructions in English. I also have several projects related to word learning, both experimental and computational in nature. And finally, while it's not my core focus these days, in the past I've worked on topics in natural language processing from an engineering perspective, with a particular focus on low resource languages. So all that said, I'd be happy to chat with any students with interests in anything I've enumerated, anything close to it, and welcome.